joining me for another episode of King. Today I have a very valuable person we're interviewing. Known this guy for years now. Very fortunate to have him here. Introducing Mr. Shayne Skaff.
How's everybody doing?
Good, good. So I met Shayne a few years ago. Well, it seems like a few years. It was many years ago. 2013, I met him on the USS Carl Vinson while we were underway off the coast of a coast somewhere along the water line and borders of some country. No, I think we were along the coast of Mexico. We were doing drills, getting ready for deployment. Shayne was a part of a group called YPO, Young Presidents Organization, where they basically take the cream of the crop of all the CEOs we have here in America. Is it international or just national?
International.
So the CEOs international, I think it's about 24,000 members.
Yeah. Yeah.
24,000 members. There are different types of benchmarks you need to make. You have to be under 40 at the time. So it's literally just taking the cream of the crop of business CEOs and founders. Shayne happened to be a part of that group who came to visit us on the ship. Friendship began from there. And I had a chance after that experience to go see his offices that same year where he's operating out of. He's co-founded a technology company called MaintenanceNet. And he's kind of here to tell you about his trials and tribulations of building that company, selling that company, and what he's doing now and how it can help you in your life. So Shayne, can you kind of give us a little walkthrough?
First, I have to make the first correction of the day, which is it was MaintenanceNet, not maintenance.net.
I type it in all the time. I always type it in.
and yeah, so first of all, it was a joy to meet King and all of his brothers and sisters on the ship in 2013, where I could see firsthand what true patriotism is all about. Just an amazing, actually for me it was a life-changing experience. It really was. I mean, it was only 2 days, but phenomenal to meet all of you guys out there.
Well, thank you.
So you want my story?
So yes, we're going to kind of jump into the story. Of course, the first thing people want to know, and I kind of give you a background in the show notes, but so I asked Shayne about this before we started to make sure he wouldn't start blushing on me. But Shayne co-founded a company, MaintenanceNet, started from the ground up, went through all the sub-entrepreneurs go through, especially with a tech company out here. He ended up selling it to Cisco Systems for about $140 million. And since then, he's gone on to do more great things. So we just kind of want to know, first, what were you doing before you started MaintenanceNet? And then how did you get to the point where you began building it to sell it?
Yeah, so I mean, before starting MaintenanceNet, I was in technology. I was selling enterprise technology infrastructure. Prior to that, I was going into more similar to the field that you're going into right now. So I thought I wanted to be a talent manager. So
it's never too late because I'm always looking.
I'll be working for you someday. No, I was working for a company called Avnet. I was selling enterprise technology, mainly enterprise servers and storage into basically Fortune 500 clients, mostly from LA to San Diego. Through that endeavor, I joined with them in the late 90s when the bubble burst in 2000. Infrastructure margins, so margins on hardware, on computer hardware, right, went plummeting. And as somebody that was in sales and made money on gross profit, when margins go plummeting, my commission checks go plummeting. So I knew I had to do something different. I was still making lots of profit on services and software, and so I turned my business from the infrastructure, primarily infrastructure, and started selling more services and software to bring my gross profits back up. And I also found a wonderful annuity in the service and the software, meaning that there was a beginning and an end date to every service contract and every software license agreement that I was selling. And so when that end date hit, I could go back to the same client and sell a renewal for a year or another 2 or 3 years. And so although my revenues as a salesperson literally cut in half, I was actually I was still making more money than I had when I was at the peak of my revenue, because my gross profits were larger and I was getting paid on the gross profit. So that was the point where the light went on for me, like, oh, if I'm having success managing the annuity that lies in my technology business, right, there's a lot of other salespeople that could probably benefit from moving their business to that annuity as well.
So to cut you off a moment, so you're at your old company, you start doing this.
I started doing this at my little company at Avenue. I was tracking it there, yeah.
So this is something you brought up, you know, you kind of created this or thought about, hey, why don't we do it this way? Or was this something that your boss was like, hey, I want you to start doing this way?
No, I mean, as a salesperson, you know, you're kind of out there fending for yourself. And so no, I actually initially was doing it manually. I created an Excel spreadsheet so I could manage when I was selling.
When it was ending.
Yeah, when it was ending and beginning. Okay. But it wasn't like notifying me, so it still took a lot of work to manage the beginning and end dates. And then I hired somebody to create a little MySQL database for me, which would actually notify me when I could go back. And so from that, I actually got a technology partner, who was my partner in MaintenanceNet, and we created a front end to this database, and I ended up quitting Avnet and actually going out and selling this product. So we packaged it up, basically, put a nice user front end to it, and we went out to different companies that had large volumes of low dollar service renewals and software licenses that they needed to renew. And we went out and said, hey, we want to help you automate how you manage and transact this annuity business. And the first client that we got was the company I worked for, which was Adamant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we sold them the platform. All of their salespeople were now, able to go onto the platform and manage when their client expirations were coming and go back and renew those client expirations. And that's kind of how the whole thing started.
So you had sales background, technology background. You went to University of San Diego, correct?
I did.
What did you major in there?
Business.
So you majored in business. Okay, so you know the business side of things. Is that what kind of helped you look at this thing from a different perspective once your revenue got cut in half as far as what you were bringing in?
Yeah.
Like what made you sit at the desk and say, hey, let's just sell this thing and let's package it up differently?
So I was, as a salesperson, you're always looking for, how are you going to affect your bottom line, right? And if gross sales are what you get paid on, the questions in your head are gonna be, how do I increase my gross revenue, right? What I'm bringing in. I was being paid on gross profit, so I always thought about how do I get more gross profit into my business. And so, I wouldn't say that my business degree helped me. It certainly helped me understand the terminology, gross profit, gross margins, cost of goods sold. But I'd say it was, I have a natural curiosity about selling and about building relationships. It's what I do, and so I'd say it's like anything. When you feel like you're good at something, it becomes kind of a natural thing for you to know things that maybe other people don't see really easily.
Right, it's your gift.
I'd say that it's probably, my gift is probably that. It's on the understanding how to look at a sale and do what's great for the client and what's also good for me, right? Creating a win-win. And so what I was also, my perspective on when I turned from selling infrastructure because the margins dropped, my clients needed to now also focus on maintaining the equipment that they had, because when the bubble burst, people weren't buying a lot of infrastructure, right? So they were keeping infrastructure for longer. So as a salesperson, you look first for what can I do to benefit my customer, because if I can help my customer make better decisions, I'm going to also benefit, right?
I think that's something a lot of salespeople are missing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so for me, it was really more around, okay, I see, infrastructure's plummeting. Right. These clients need to maintain what they have, right? So my benefit to them is I'm going to help them make sure that their critical assets are always have a service contract on it, that their software license agreements are always renewed. Okay. And by doing that, obviously, I was adding to my bottom line. Right. So I would say that those are the kinds of things that, maybe some of it's because of a business degree, but also some of that is just, it comes natural to me. Okay. A lot of other things like the technical piece did not come natural for me, right? And so I had to surround myself with technical people, right? That could help me talk about the speeds and feeds of things, and why the technology should be a certain way. So we did self-finance the startup. We didn't pay ourselves anything out of the business for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Then we did raise a small round of $1.3 million in 2005.
Okay.
On a convertible note, and that was really the only funding that we brought in until we took some growth capital in 2013, actually.
Okay.
So yeah.
So something for the entrepreneurs here then. So you started this business, you left your own company. I'm assuming you saved a little bit because you know you're going to leave and read.
Yeah, we had. I mean, it was just my wife and I at the time, so we had no kids. I could easily pull back and run on a shoestring budget, which is what I did. I refinanced my house. I took a home equity line out, and that's really what we lived on.
So,
and plus, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, because I have to give my wife a lot of credit, because she's also an educated woman. She's got her doctorate in pharmacy, and she was working as a medical science liaison, and so she was actually the breadwinner.
She was bringing in the bucks.
Yeah, Mama was bringing it home.
There you go. There you go. Hey, support your man out there. You never know what's going to happen in a few years.
That's it.
So, you go off on your own with your partner. You had to finance this business yourself. You weren't paying yourself for a couple of years. You had employees at the time already, right?
We did, yeah.
So kind of give me your thoughts on the mental strain you may have faced when you're thinking about, hey, I got to lay off employees this month. I have, I'm not paying myself. Money's going out in different directions. What are some things you faced mentally when it came to? You said you had to refinance your house, right?
Yeah, I'd say that, it's different for everybody. I've never been one so caught up on money or finances. So, and I've always been pretty confident in my decision making. So, and I'm an optimistic person. So, you kind of put all that together. I wasn't that nervous, and probably because also being in sales, we work on commission. It's like if you don't produce, you don't get paid.
You're used to that.
Yeah, and so I was really used to kind of living on the fact that it's up to me, right?
Right. Eat what you kill. I always tell them, you gotta eat what you kill. When you do it, when you're an entrepreneur, that's the way.
That's right. So yeah, so for me it was, and in the early days, we had a few employees, so it wasn't like we were doing a ton of hiring and firing.
Right.
I really wasn't. The most stressful part is taking money from family and friends, and so of the 300,000 we took from family and friends. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that was probably one of the most stressful things throughout the history of MaintenanceNet, was the fact that I had family and friend money in, and you're responsible for that. Some amount, my family put in a significant amount, and because they believed in me. And if it didn't work out, I know that I'd actually, because I couldn't live with myself for losing money, I'd be going back to try and figure out how to pay them back. Right. But that was really it. It's the responsibility of taking somebody's money in, and then our investor came in with $1 million, Express Ventures, and then again it's the stress, right? You want to do well by these people, and I'd say that was the stressful part. It was taking care and making sure that these people were going to get a return on their investment. It wasn't me being able to pay the electric. I never thought about the electric bill or the mortgage. It was like a non-issue for me.
I say I can right now relate to you. I still call Shayne when I can if he has a few minutes to give me some business advice, because he's knowledgeable in everything and all things business. He's very humble. But that was, I recently called him up about business advice, but that's what's going on in my mind. I'm not worried about keeping the lights on and all that, as many entrepreneurs are. Like you said, we got to eat a pack of noodles. That's fine. But it's also like, wow, these people bought into what I'm doing and all this other stuff, and you have to do right by them.
That's exactly
so I think that's an important thing you pointed out.
Yeah.
So your strategy, which was a very unique strategy, which I love, and I know a lot of people always don't follow it until they really think about it. You guys decided to do low costs but high volume to aggregate some of your business, correct? As far as when you're selling these services.
We were looking to, because everybody in my business focuses on the $1 million contracts.
Right.
But with the customers that I was selling to at MaintenanceNet, we're talking about the HPs and the Ciscos and the Samsungs and the Panasonic. Right. They have a huge volume of low-dollar service contract renewals and software license renewals. The moment you put, us, a sales guy, to pick up the phone and call a business to renew that, you lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing is, well, if you can just automate that piece of the business, you don't have to use the people. And that large volume, low dollar business represents, in some cases, billions of dollars in revenue, right, for a company like a Cisco.
Right.
And you can't use people to go after that. You know, you can't hire enough people in Manila
to go everywhere
to go and do that.
Right.
It's too expensive.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. So yeah, so the MaintenanceNet platform, what's called Service Exchange, was what automated how they could actually see what their revenue opportunity was, and then our system automated the quotes out to the businesses so that they can renew right off the quote.
This is the research what I saw.
Yeah.
You all, I believe it was reaching into about 2014 or about 2013, 2014, you were doing up to $3 billion in service revenue generation? Across our customers, we were automating over 3 billion in quotes. Wow.
And, you know, in 36 different languages.
Right, I saw it. Was it like right before you all so they sold their company in 2015. Was it June?
It was July of 2015.
Okay, July 2015. I had just got back from deployment at June 4th, so I remember that because I saw it in the paper. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's another story. I'll tell you toward the end. But no, I saw that, and
we really the over 3 billions that we were automating globally. That was across our entire customer base. Eventually, we got to a place where we were automating, you know, almost as much as 3 billion with one client, right? And then we were transacting hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's one thing to send out $3 billion in quote. Nobody really cares about that. It's like how much of that actually got transacted, right? What was the result? And with MaintenanceNet, we were all about outcomes. Our value wasn't, we didn't talk about how awesome our technology was, although it was awesome.
Right, clearly.
But our value was in what was the result of what we were producing for our client. So the result isn't the quote going out, right?
It's how much you bring back.
It's how much the company actually closes, because what we sold on was, hey, we're going to help you drive revenue, right? Hey, Cisco, we're going to, because of our platform, you're going to make, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars more than you would have had you not had us in place. Yeah, and so that's what we were doing in 2015. We got approached, and we weren't looking to sell the company. I had just raised money in 2013 to kind of go farther, faster. We brought in a bunch of salespeople and marketing people, and we were hockey sticking. I mean, our revenues were going up and up and up. I think at the time they were somewhere around 20 million.
And you opened up another office overseas as well?
We had an office in London, and we had an office in Warsaw, Poland, which is where our technical support was for EMEA, for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And so yeah, so then we got approached. We told them, you know, we weren't really interested in the sell at that point, and then we went back and forth for 6 months, and the valuation, you know, came up to a place that we couldn't ignore.
Right.
And it was a great partnership and a long-time client in Cisco.
Right.
Our teams loved each other. We worked really well together, and now, you know, most of my employees are still working at Cisco.
So the one thing I saw up close and personal that I always heard of, you all saw it in the Facebook movie and some other movies. You heard the rumors about tech startups and how their company offices are. I had a chance to go visit Shayne's office back in 2013, as he said, and I mean, it would just look like the most amazing place to work. There were the desks were set up in sets of 3s, I guess, so you know, so everybody works in groups and teams. There are ping pong tables everywhere, and there are Nerf guns everywhere. And he assured me that almost every day at the close of business, there was some type of Nerf gun fight going on. So my question to you is, as a CEO, as a founder, as a startup founder, as a senior level executive, how do you foster that environment to keep people happy and keep them wanting to come to work and doing a good job?
Well, I think it's really about happiness. You know, you keep people happy, and they tend to be productive. They tend to want to come to work, and we had a great culture. I mean, our culture was really about health, happiness, and innovation. Those were our 3 pillars.
Can you explain those?
Well, health. We when we're healthy, we feel good about ourselves, right?
How did you foster that?
We had twice a week, we had somebody come in and run boot camps, exercise boot camps. We had self-defense classes. We provided twice a week massages for our employees. You know, the office, you saw the office. We had Nerf gun fights, we had kegs.
Shorts and flip-flops.
We had kegs of beer on tap.
Didn't see that part, didn't tell me about that one.
So, you know, you just make it a fun place to be, and a place that people want to collaborate and create friendships. I'm a big believer that, you know, there's no reason why we can't create friendships in the workplace. And we definitely had that. Our people were doing races together, like the Ragnar race. They were doing hikes up Mount Whitney together. I mean, they were coordinating all kinds of things, you know, and these aren't company functions, right? This is just the employees liking to be with one another and, you know, coordinating to get together in the weekends and at nights and stuff. But I think you foster all of that by making the workplace not just a workplace. And making it a place also for social gathering.
What would you say to those entry-level or mid-level employees or managers that are coming in looking for jobs, whether it's tech companies or wherever? From that senior level perspective, what is some advice you can give them as far as, you know, the values they need to have, or what your type of senior level execs are looking for? Well,
I would never tell anybody what values they should have or how to create their culture, because it is really personal and it's different for everybody. And what works for me doesn't work for everybody. And it's not to say that you can't have great results and have a very different culture than what I had. But what I believe in is fostering a place where people are having a good time and where they like what they do. And I don't ever hire somebody that I think is just telling me what I want to hear. If I think somebody doesn't really enjoy what they would be doing at MaintenanceNet, I would not hire them. One of the questions that I ask anybody that I interview, the last question I ask them is, are they a lucky person? Because most pessimists will answer that question to the negative. You know, no, I'm not lucky, my cat, you know, died last week, or, you know, they'll just come up with something negative. The optimists will always say, hell yeah, I live in San Diego, right? Or something of that nature, right? You know, I've got a great life, I'm healthy, you know, and they'll focus on things that have, you know, nothing to do, in most cases, nothing to do with money or anything, right? In most cases, it's, hey, I'm sitting here right now, I'm lucky, right?
I'm alive, I'm happy. It's kind of like what I was just telling you before I got on, I was telling about a Facebook message I was sending back to someone, how the guy was basically explaining how he doesn't feel men are prizes either. I was like, you know what? Men and women, different people are prizes, but I'm like, you don't feel that you're a prize, then buddy, you got some internal things you got to work out, you know, before you can do anything else.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
So, as far as in the workplace, what are some things you look for from employees? As far as you know, you said, I remember you told me before, they don't clock in and clock out. You know, you kind of let them manage their productivity, and you know, it's not babysitting. It's a big boy, big girl thing where everybody's allowed to work on their own time as long as they're getting the job done. So how do you effectively manage that, like as a manager?
Well, certain positions you can manage in different ways. Not all positions you can manage like that. We had productivity tools. Obviously, we were a software company, so we had productivity tools that allowed us to manage what people were doing and completing, right? So if they were managing to completion in the time that they dedicated to getting that task done, nobody asks any questions. And so, you know, these are developers, sometimes they're coding at night, and you know, we can see that through the productivity tools. But other positions, you need them in the office, you know, inside sales, and they need to be, you know, making calls. Support needs to be in the office during a certain time because they're supporting our customers, right? So it's not, but where we could have flexibility and still optimize productivity, we absolutely did that, right? I'm not a time puncher, you know what I mean? So if I don't see somebody that is in support sitting at their desk during the day, I'm not worried about it. Unless I see that they're having issues. Maybe if the customer's complaining about them, then I'm going to ask a question, right? You know, the customer's complaining that you're not ever there and available for them. And I can see that when I walk by your desk, you're not there.
Right.
But it's not something I'm actively looking for, or my managers are actively looking for. And so it's not just me. I mean, obviously we had VPs and directors and managers managing people, but you try to tell those people in management coming into the organization that, hey, look, this is our culture, right? This is how we manage people.
Right.
Generally, when you have a culture that's strong, you just don't allow people that you think aren't going to fit that culture. When you allow people that fit the culture, they generally act in a certain way, right?
Okay. What would you tell to budding entrepreneurs? There's a lot of people out there who are starting to see the old business model of staying at a company for 20 and 30 years isn't working. So, and I've written about this as well. Everybody's starting to restructure their long-term plan to say, okay, I'm gonna work here for 5 to 7 years. I'm gonna save up some money, and maybe I'm gonna start a company somewhere else. Yeah. What is some advice you can give them as far as what they're about to go face, some things they need to be aware of, trials and tribulations?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is resilience, because it's really difficult to start a business, and it seems glamorous when you think most people think about entrepreneurship.
It's not glamorous. It looks like it is not glamorous.
But first timers, it seemed like it to me, and the reality is, and there's a great pictorial that shows the road to success, right? And everybody thinks the road to success looks like this, but really it's like drops and peaks and valleys and all this craziness that happens in between starting and succeeding. And so most businesses fail, startups fail, everybody knows that, and a lot of them fail not because they have a bad idea. They fail because people quit early, right? Okay. And during the darkest moment is sometimes the most critical part of your business. And if you could just eke over that dark moment, in many cases there's sunlight, right? And it's that also goes for your personal life, right? And we all go through stuff, right? And we think that it's the lowest we've ever been, and then we go even lower, and it's that point when you're lower than you thought you could ever be that the sun comes out, right? And that I would equate is the journey I went on with MaintenanceNet, where we hit really, really low places, and I could have easily, I mean, you worry. In the recession, we ran out of money. In 2010, we were running out of money. I mean, you worry, and especially at those points where we had lots of employees, and the funding dried up, and valuations were plummeted, and so you think, okay, how am I going to get through this?
And you stayed on course.
Well, yeah, you figure it out, and we had to put together what we call get well plans, which did include layoffs. Unfortunately, you don't ever want to do it. But it's sometimes you have to do it, to survive. And but yeah, there are points in every entrepreneur that's been an entrepreneur for a long time that you do doubt yourself, and you question the decisions that you make. And but it's just getting through that point where you're having the most doubt, when you're seeing no light, and being smart about how you get out of it, putting a smart plan to get you through it, that things kind of open up, right? And it doesn't happen with everybody. In some cases, you got to shut down. Things happen, right? But I've seen businesses, go under that I didn't think needed to go under, right? It's just that people quit.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you had to lay people off. I assume you had to fire people before as well.
Yep.
Is there a best way of doing that, and how would you do it? Because there are a lot of people now, especially some of our peers, are moving up to those senior level management positions. And I'm sure there's other CEOs watching who has their own company, who might have hired their friends early on, or, whatever. You have people working for them that they don't want there, but they might not have enough strength and muster to fire them. What would you suggest?
Well, firing and layoffs are different for me. I mean, sometimes you fire people because they do something really bad. I generally have no problem doing that. It's very easy for me to fire people that do bad things. Really easy.
Okay.
It's the letting people go that are good people that maybe just didn't perform at the level that they needed to, and those hurt. When you really like somebody personally, and they've got families, and it never gets easy.
So, and you just said something, I remember we talked about this years ago too, something the military harps on is the term good people.
Yeah.
You hire based off the person. Of course they have to have the skills to be able to do the job, but I remember when I came to your office, the way you were speaking was the way some military folks spoke to me a long time ago. They're like, hey, you know, it doesn't matter if you know how to do X, Y, and Z or not. We can teach you to do X, Y, and Z. We need to make sure we can trust you. We need to make sure you're hard working, all those stuff. So you hire based off the person first, correct?
Always. The person is always more important than the skill set. They have to have a skill set in most cases.
Right, you got to do something.
I mean, you got to teach them something, right, but they have to come in with a core skill set. But it's not as important as the persona. So yeah, no question about that.
So when you're posting on social media, remember that there are CEOs.
We look at we look at social media before we bring people in. You know, so those things that are sitting out, I'm horrified by some of the things that people I know have sitting out there, some of my family members, and
why don't they get it? Why don't they get it? That's why I don't understand. Why don't people get that point?
I think it's just a different generation.
I mean, there's mayors getting fired in different states and governors for stuff they post on social media.
It's just pure stupidity, quite frankly. I mean, when you got like people that are my generation doing that kind of thing, right? There's just ridiculous. That's just so.
They don't like money. That's what it is.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, somebody that's inexperienced, I can kind of understand. Like a young person, a millennial that's kind of just getting out there.
Right.
They're not thinking about the job that they're going to have to get when they get out of university, right? They're just thinking about, you know, the party they're at and the pictures they're taking and, you know, showing to all their friends, right? And now it's sitting out there and it lives on the internet. So yeah, I mean, it is important though. It's an important thing for everybody going into the workspace, everybody that's in the workspace to think about. We check.
What's some advice you give to the entrepreneur and CEO who, you know, is finally building that company? They got over that dark place. They got over that hump. And specifically, I remember when I met with you at your office in 2013, you know, you made it clear, you're like, hey, I could sell this company for a little bit, but you're like, I'm not planning on even selling it. Like, I remember that year you said I think you were at 80 employees. You said you were about to double it in a couple years, which you ended up doing. So what was it finally that I was like, okay, I can't turn this offer down? Like, and how do you even go about selling a company at that level?
Well, it's really difficult, really, really difficult. Again, especially for Scott and I, you know, we weren't all about the money.
Right.
And we were having a great time building a great business with great people. My customers were some of my best friends. You know, build these relationships over the years, and we raise money to go farther, faster. But you also, as a business owner, and when you've raised money, you have a responsibility to shareholders, and that responsibility to shareholders is very, very, very important. And it was the final offer would have been irresponsible as a business owner to turn down,
right?
Because it was good for the shareholders.
Okay,
it was good for the shareholders, and it was good for our employees. Were all shareholders. We had an ESOP program, so the employees had, you know, had a stake in it, and you know, that acquisition, you know, they were able to buy homes in some cases, and it was just wonderful for them. And also, Cisco is one of the best companies in the world.
It's a very good company.
The benefits that our employees now have, they're amazing benefits. I couldn't give them,
because Cisco's is absorbed all your employees as well.
Right? I couldn't give them those benefits, right? I could not, and so there's so much that was good about it, and we put some of the acquisition. We had RSUs, Cisco RSUs, restricted stock units. So the employees were actually now also getting stock in Cisco, right?
Okay.
And
oh wow.
So it was good for the shareholders. It was our investors, you know, had a great return on their money, phenomenal return on their money.
Of course.
Yeah. Employees are now working for one of the best companies in the world, and they truly are. I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about Cisco as a company. When all that lines up, it's just you gotta do it.
So that's an interesting quick segue. I gotta tell the story of. So I went to Shayne's office in 2013. I actually wrote about this. I didn't put you specifically. I wrote about this in my blog and my book for some of the folks who read it. can go back to it. It was about being prepared. It's about being prepared when you're around high value people at all times for anything, for business, for whatever. I remember coming to your office. I thought it was like a friendly visit. Like I was not prepared to talk about anything. I was just coming to relax. And Shayne was telling me, show me the office, telling me about his business, and we went to lunch with 2 of his top sales folks, if I remember. And long story short, he ended up offering me a job. It wasn't the right time because I had not deployed yet. Yeah. I could not be in the military without deploying. But my whole point of that is I didn't even come prepared with that mind frame. And that's something I think everybody needs to realize, that there are always opportunities around you. And there's always people around you that are willing to help. You just have to, open yourself up to that. So that's one of the things where, when he says he's looking for good people, he means it. And I really took that to heart. It was just something. It wasn't the right time, but I always think about those stock options.
No. Well, you would have been, yeah, it would have been great to have you aboard. But I think what you said is absolutely right. I think being open to opportunities is really, really important, because sometimes those opportunities come when you're not looking for anything.
That's true.
And it's important to leave yourself open to listening to what people have to say. Even if you're happy where you're at, right? And I'm still open to all kinds of. I'm working on all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's my next. We're about to go right into that.
And it's because I'm so curious about what people are working on and what they're doing, and when I find somebody that I'm learning something from, I want to learn more from them, and I want to work with them, right? And so some of the things that I'm working on is really comes out of just learning something that they're doing and wanting to be a part of it, right?
So your company, I think I remember they had you on board for about 9 months or so.
It's like 11 months. Yeah, so it's almost a year.
So almost a year to help with the transition. Then you had to sign non-compete clause where you couldn't.
I signed a non-compete. Yeah, when we did the transaction. So it was a 2-year non-compete, which is coming up in August of this year. But yeah, I worked for Cisco for almost a year.
Instead of how many people do, they have their big event, they sell their company, all this hard work's paid off. You went right back into the workforce.
Well, yeah, I didn't. My partner and I have an investment company, which is Mooring Ventures, and so we kind of really put our time back into that and work with our portfolio companies and helping them grow their businesses. And so I enjoy the mental stimulation that I get from work. So sitting on a beach somewhere is fun for a week.
Right. Yeah,
but then I like to get back and do things. So. Yeah.
All right, so we only have Shayne for a few more minutes. So a couple things. First, like I kind of said, I want to go over each thing and what type of advice you can offer them professionally when it comes to them either seeking employment or running a business or being a manager. For entry-level employees, people are saying, hey, I'm whatever age, it's hard for me to make money. Maybe I have a degree, maybe I don't. Which way is up? How do I get out of this and get to a company that's a good company that can kind of help take care of my basic needs, my family's basic needs, and still be a good employee? What would you tell them?
Well, I tell them first to figure out, what type of company they want to be in. If it really depends on what they want to do, right? I think a lot of people just go into a company because they need money, and I think the first thing they need to think about is what do they like to be around, like what products and services do they like to be around, and find a company that is selling those products and services. You don't need to go into sales to be around something that you love. Right. If you're going to go into customer support, don't you want to be supporting a product or service that you actually like, right? So I'm a big fan of, and I tell my kids this, do what you love, and we all hear it. It's so ridiculous.
I was about to say, you truly believe that.
But I do. And it's not to say that it's their dream job, right? But you can work in an environment that you either really love the culture, maybe you don't like the product so much, but you love the culture of the company, right? And so you can go out and find out what company culture is. You can go onto Google and do a search.
Glassdoor and all that.
So I would do some homework. I don't think even people entering the workforce do enough homework about what companies are out there, how do they operate,
20+
what are they
hours.
selling, right? Yeah, what's the culture of the company, and think, wow, if that sounds good, then pick that company as one of the companies you should go out. The most important part of getting into the workforce, from my perspective, is the network that you're establishing. And people in college, they don't realize that they could be establishing that network right then and there.
I blew that, I will admit.
Yeah, but it's the truth. I mean, it's actually one of the reasons I moved to San Diego from Santa Barbara. I was in university in Santa Barbara and then came down here because San Diego was a bigger city. There was more going on, and I felt like I could, build some relationships that would help me here. I was very focused and whenever I met somebody in business, they're in my Outlook database. Like I have contacts in here that go back to 1995. When I'm on a boat, on an aircraft carrier.
He's on an aircraft carrier.
Right, I meet people. Right. I went up to you and I met you because I thought you were. I liked your personality, and that's why I went up to you. And got your information. I went up and got other people, other of your colleagues there. So I put them in my database because you never know. And so if you're in university and you're out there, and you should be having conversations with people around your university about what you might want to do, and you'll be surprised. A lot of people are going to tell you, "Oh, I can help you do that." Right? I can help you get
opening up.
Yeah. Okay. If people don't know what you want to do, you'll never get any help to do it. Right?
Okay. Now, mid-level manager. I'm a mid-level manager. I've been here 4 or 5 years. Pays all right, but how do I move up? How do I make it to the next tier?
You do things that better the company without being asked to do them.
There we go. I preach on that.
Yeah.
If you don't progress the company, they will not progress you.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Absolutely. I mean, there's one thing to do your job.
Right.
There's another thing to go above and beyond.
Without the masking.
I had a guy that I brought in as a project manager for me at MaintenanceNet, and he came in and immediately said, "Hey Shayne, I can, this thing we're doing over here, it's not good, it's not efficient, this is what I suggest." He kept coming back to me with all these, man, did I build a crappy, operating system? Right. But he was driven by improving the efficiency of our operations, and he ended up basically running all of MaintenanceNet operations within like 6 months of him being on board. I mean, it was so amazing, and it's because he volunteered to do that. Like, he kept bringing me things, and I kept saying, "Okay, great, go do it, thank you." Right. That's what it takes.
And then he did it in a flourish.
And he's crushing it right now with Cisco. Nice. He's the best operator in Southern California from my perspective. He's one of the best around. So.
Nice. Okay, and then for say that senior level is that we kind of talked about already. Hey, it's time to leave and go to a new company, but what are some things from a leadership perspective that you can tell those, those CEOs, those founders? We see it all the time. United Airlines. You have Fox News right now. You see all these big corporations that are going through this cultural change because it's not aligning to what's going on out in the real world, I guess. So what are some of those things you can tell some of those people are at a high level?
So I think when people trust you, when your employees trust you, they will follow you anywhere. They will go to the grave for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think too many leaders still rule like tyrants, mm-hmm. and that doesn't work long term. I mean, I think the leader with the heart that are compassionate tend to have employees that will literally go above and beyond for them. And I think it's not a complex formula. It really is not. I mean, being compassionate, being really driven about helping your employees be happy at work. It's that simple. I mean, if you can help your employees be happy, they will drive so hard for you and for your organization. You don't need to bark orders, right? And demand on them. Nobody wants to follow that leader, right? And whether you may think that they're following you, but when you're not in the room, they're talking.
They're planning to take over.
Yeah, but seriously, and they might be planning to take over.
Right. Fox News, like I said. Exactly. Well, hey, thanks for your time, Shayne. I will tell you folks that I feel like one of the most important things you can do is find people like Shayne here and surround yourself with them, because there's just so much knowledge that, you know, these type of folks have from their experiences and their ups and downs and trials and tribulations. He's an all-around great guy. Like I said, I didn't get a chance for the nerve gun fight, but I know he's going to be starting up some new things soon, so look for him, and maybe I'll jump in on the ping pong table or something then. Thanks for coming in, Shayne.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
I did the crime, and I will always say this: I'm the one that messed up, and I'm willing to take full responsibility for my mess up. And I should have known better, and I know better, and I should have done better, but I just didn't.
Right.
And so I'm the one.